Oh, my name is Mary Kate Lewis, and I'm a veterinary science major here at UNR. Maddie and I went to the Wild Horse and Burro Adoption Center at Paladino Valley, where Jeremy is the contact rep and volunteer coordinator. And he told us a lot of information about the wild horses, but he didn't want us to interview him and video him. He was fine with us taking his information and putting it in the documentary. Before the Ice Age, there was equines here in North America, but they went extinct. So when the Spaniards and the conquistadors came to America, starting with Columbus, they brought horses with them, and along the way they would release them or they would die and the horses would run off. And at the same time that this was happening, the Western Europeans, like the English and the French, were colonizing the East Coast, and they were also bringing horses with them. And so these horses that we call the wild Mustangs are technically feral from the European settlers, the Spaniards and the English and the French and other nationalities. And as they would travel west, they would release the horses because they didn't want them, or they would die on the trail. They also gave some to, or sold some to the Native Americans, who also sometimes would let them go. And so now we have hundreds of thousands of horses roaming, and they're wild, but they're descended from domesticated. So currently our public lands can hold 28,000 horses, that's their carrying capacity, without ruining the land or being able to feed the horses sufficiently. And we have 100,000 horses on our public land across the U.S. And so it is a big problem for rangeland in the U.S. And so that's one of the problems. Another problem, here in Nevada, it's also a big problem for similar reasons. A lot of ranchers and agriculturists here use the public lands for grazing for their cattle, and that's their livelihood. And they go into, they rent the land from BLM. BLM will tell them, oh, yeah, you can have this plot of land, but you can graze your cattle on it from January to June. But at the same time, you also have to take these springs that are on the land and build them into viable watering holes. And this land can hold, for example, 1,000 head of cattle. And so the rancher will put his cattle on there, he'll do everything right, he'll put his own money into building these watering holes, and then the horses will come through the land. And since the land can only hold 100 or 1,000 head of cattle, when 2,000 horses plus the 1,000 head of cattle come through, the watering holes and the lands are destroyed. So then the next year when the farmer goes to the BLM, like, hey, can I have my land from January to June again? I paid my money into it. The federal government is like, well, the land can't handle your cattle anymore, you're going to destroy the rangeland. And so then the farmer's out of luck, he put his own money into it, and the rangeland is destroyed. And agriculture is a big industry in Nevada. Right. There's no natural predators here for the horses. And so if you have 1,000 on the rangeland right now, they'll double in 2 years, and so in 2 years you'll have 2,000, in 4 years you'll have 4,000, and it just keeps going on. And so that's a big problem because there's no way to control the herds, and I guess other animals like elk and other other not native species to Nevada, they control their population. As they get bigger, they just stop having babies, but horses don't. Alright, so currently one of the management practices that's being used is PZP, which is a birth control strategy where they inject the mares with it, and it stops the sperm from connecting with the egg and forming a viable offspring. And so it's an effective birth control. Yeah, but it has to be implemented every year, so they have to shoot the mares every year with this dart gun, which they have no way of showing which ones they've shot with it. It takes a lot of money to round up horses and shoot them with the injection, or to go out on the range and shoot them from afar, and then you maybe get 3 horses each year, and you spend $50,000, or let's say you get 1,000 mares and you spend $50,000, and then the next year you spend the same amount, you get even less mares because they've seen it coming. And so it is an option to start to decrease the amount on the range, but they've found that it's not effective because it costs too much and it has too many problems. Like they can't track it, and they don't know how it will react with the mares. So other options for managing the horses are you can euthanize the horses, or you can send them to slaughterhouses and use the meat, use the horses then as meat for food, which are other options. The euthanasia is a problem though, because what do you do then with the horse, which, like the corpse basically? Are you just gonna dig a hole and put it in the pit? Because you can't use them for meat, you can't plant crops on top of them, you can't use them for really anything because they have poisonous chemicals in their body. And then using them for slaughter, it's currently illegal in the US to slaughter horses for sale, and so that would have to be changed. It's also, who wants to hear about hundreds of thousands of horses being slaughtered and sold? So that's another problem. So currently they have 50,000 horses in captivity looking to adopt them out, but there's still 100,000 on the range, and their amount doubles every 2 years, so like you see where it goes. And currently the Palomino Valley Adoption Center, they bring about 4,000 in each year and they adopt out 4,000, so that's the end goal of these roundup facilities. The only problem is horses are only being bought and sold right now for pleasure. They're not really used for work anymore, or they're not efficient for work. And so why would someone train a horse and when they can just buy, like the market is saturated with domesticated horses, which are really easy to buy. If we just left them on the range to be wild right now, the range can't sustain them. Even if there was no agriculture issues involved or people's houses involved, if we just left them and let them be and ignored them, there's horses right now who are dying of starvation and dying of thirst because they can't find enough food or enough water. And that's a horrible way to die. So even though they're pretty in the wild and on the range, it's not a good place for them because they can't survive out there. Some benefits of adopting a horse is you can adopt a Mustang for $125, which I can almost guarantee you is the cheapest you'll find any horse anywhere. You can also, they adopt to the East Coast, and they only charge them $125 and they pay to ship the horse out there, which I know the shipping is more expensive than the cost of adoption. It's a really great program. You get a really healthy horse because these horses have been bred for natural selection, so they've been bred to who survives on the range the best. They've had a large variety of food throughout their life, so they won't get sick after, they don't have a super sensitive stomach. They also have really strong feet. These horses have survived without shoes their whole life, so a lot of domesticated horses have a lot of problems with their legs and their feet. These horses don't, because otherwise they wouldn't have survived in the wild. You have to train these horses, so you get a really strong bond with the horse. And once you have a horse that you can work with, they become more of a partner. And they're smart enough to get you out of dangerous situations, or if they're in a dangerous situation themselves, they can get out of it usually. And it's a really great opportunity. If you are looking for a horse, I would recommend maybe trying this.
I just want to do a quick shout out and thank you to my roommate, Mary Kate Lewis, who was in this video, and Jeremy Wilhelm, who works at the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. He takes care of all the horses and burros that are brought in, and he's in charge of adopting them out and helping train them, and basically anything that you could possibly need. If you have any questions, if you're interested in adopting a Mustang, I will put his email and contact information at the end of this video. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to those two, and to basically the BLM for everything they do for our Mustangs and our
Rangeland.
Our what?
Rangeland?
Yeah, for our Mustangs and our rangeland. So yeah, alright, sweet.